The first step is understanding that someone with a disability might be able to do 90% of the job, and because of that, you're missing out on them and you're skipping them. And I think that's the first mistake.
Welcome to the Block and Tackle Show, hosted by Karl Block. He'll be tackling some of the biggest issues in business today. Welcome to the show.
So let's talk about one of the many things you do. Let's talk about precision search.
Yeah.
And I know you're in the SEO business. How is what you do different than the litany of other SEO providers out there?
We focus on what's called programmatic SEO. And so it's not the traditional on or off page where you're essentially creating, on page SEO is creating blogs essentially and focusing on keywords that can help you show up higher on Google. For you as an attorney, you might focus on creating blogs around your specific services as an attorney so you can hopefully show up highly on Google. Or you might try and get backlinks, which is websites that link back to yours that have something to do with law practice or with the work that you do. And those are great. That's a great foundation. I think everyone should do on and off page SEO. However, what we do is called programmatic. And what that means is we create thousands of landing pages that are focused on what we call long tail keywords. And so as a speaker for me, instead of best motivational speaker, it might focus on best motivational speaker in Santa Monica, California, or in the finance industry in Santa Monica, California, something like that. And when you can focus on those longer tail things, those longer tail keywords, it's easier for you to show up higher on Google. When you create thousands of them or even hundreds of them, it's a lot easier for people to find you. And so what we found is I had built this for myself manually a little over a year and a half ago, figured out worked so well for me to bring more traffic to my website. How do we automate it and turn it into a software so it can help others get SEO results in a faster, easier fashion?
Wow. And so how did you figure out this was something innovative and different and that it would really work?
Over the past few years, I always like to learn different skills to help me get better in business. I've spent a lot of time and a lot of money paying people in the SEO space, experts, to teach me SEO. And again, there's a lot of them who are still a lot better than me at those traditional things. However, I kind of just started hearing, some people did this thing called programmatic. It was very time consuming, very manual. I started doing it for myself just to see what would happen. I started getting results. People would come inbound to me. I have a speaking engagement coming up actually next week in South Carolina. They came in because I thought I lived in South Carolina. They reached out to me. Got on the phone, told them I wasn't there. It was a marketing thing, but I can still come. I travel all over. I convinced them to hire me even though I wasn't living there. They had found me by Googling best speaker or something like that in their town, and I popped up. And it clicked that if this is really working for me, why can't it work for other people? Not only other speakers, but other businesses. It's a lot easier to do if we can automate it. It's a pain to do it manually. And so we just figured out how can we actually automate this whole thing and turns it into a software.
That's interesting. And what does 800-pound gorilla everywhere? What is AI and how do AI and automation affect your business?
So we use AI within the tool to help create some of the content on the pages. The pages will pull from your website based on your criteria that you already have. But you can also prompt it, to talk about, hey, you want the title to be top attorney for divorces in, Boston, Massachusetts, different things like that. You can prompt it to create different content, to create the titles you want, to create different aspects of that page. And so we definitely use AI within that. The other aspect of AI that you might be getting at is a lot of people talk about, with ChatGPT these days, people are just asking ChatGPT and not going to Google. Well, in some instances, sure. In others, no. We talk about that because someone like you, someone like me, someone who's in kind of this entrepreneurial sphere understands AI to a degree and understands ChatGPT, understands all of those aspects. Most people out there are still going to Google. Let's just be totally honest. Most people are still going to Google. At the same time, if you're showing up highly on Google, you're also going to show up highly on ChatGPT. I had someone in Miami area reach out to me because they said, hey, we were looking for a speaker on overcoming adversity in the area, and you popped up. Oh, how'd you find me? Well, we searched on ChatGPT. I typed in those same exact words to Google, and I popped up very close to the top on Google. And ChatGPT pulls those top results. And so they work synchronously together. If you can show up high with your SEO on Google, you will show up high on ChatGPT or other AI softwares.
I obviously don't design AI models, but the idea that people would think that ChatGPT, when they're searching, they don't search Google, it's antithetical to common sense, right? So By the way, on a note of levity, what you said about me being the divorce lawyer in Boston. So my mother in Boston probably is going to watch this. I think she's going to have two reactions to that comment. She's going to say, number one, are you moving back to Boston? Which she would love. And number two, did you become a divorce lawyer? And why didn't you tell me I'm going to kill you? And for the audience, fun little fact, coincidentally, because we didn't meet this way, both Aaron and I are from the Boston area. So let me ask you this question, though, getting back to the SEO stuff. What is the biggest SEO myth that you would love to debunk?
Well, two sides to it. The first one is everything has to be done manual and it can't be automated, and using AI within SEO is bad. And that's just not true, because we've been able to see those results by automating it. Yes, there's parts that are manual, but parts with AI in precision search. Number two is that SEO is this thing that has to take 6 to 12 months to work. And okay, you're right. If you're doing manual and you're doing that traditional on and off page that we talked about, it will take a while to work. And it's not like this new programmatic that we created is going to work for you in 2 weeks. But we can cut that timeline down to, let's just say, give or take a few months. You might see results and start seeing results in 2-3 months with us, versus a traditional SEO campaign might take you 6-9 months. And again, everyone's different. I can't say that that's black and white and everyone will see results in 2-3 months. But at the end of the day, we've been able to figure out that it is a myth that it's going to take forever if you do certain things.
And that makes a lot of sense. You gave us the information about how you did it for yourself and you felt like it gave results. How did you decide to take the next step and to develop the software and make it a business? What motivated you? How did you decide, hey, this could really be a thing that nobody else is doing and that could be incredibly valuable?
So I partnered with my sister, who's my co-founder of it, and she's worked in kind of my other business and here and there in places, but I partnered with her. And at the end of the day, my goal has always been, I wanted to build a business as a speaker, and I always will speak. I'll never stop speaking. But my goal was never to be speaking 100 times a year like I am now. My goal is I want to run a successful business that has real enterprise value, that in 15 years, if I want to sell it, has value and can sell and can truly scale. You can only scale a speaking business so much because you have to fly around the country. I don't really enjoy flying that much. I do it all the time, but that's part of my business. And I wanted to build something that could run without me if I ever wanted to. I had always had this idea of building something else. I never knew what it was going to be. And it just clicked with this. I'm not a developer by trade. I don't know how to code. That's not me. But we hired a software development team and they built this out. And we're in the very early stages, obviously, of the company, of the business, but we have a lot of high hopes. And I've never been more bullish on an entrepreneurial vision or venture that I've been a part of. And I'm super excited for where it's going to lead.
I mean, that is the essence of entrepreneurship, people finding something and saying, very few ideas, I think, happen because somebody at 7 years old said, I know that I'm going to want to do this as an adult. They bump into something and they say, wait a minute, this could be it, right? So before I get to a couple of more granular questions about the business, do people approach you to do business ventures or do other things with them, or to be spokespeople for their businesses, or to see if they could partner with you in various ways? Does that happen?
Yes and no, not to like a large scale. I have had a couple people approach me of things in the past. There's one business that I'm somewhat involved in as a very silent partner. I don't do anything for them. I invested in the business. I believed in it. And I've helped them with like just some advisory stuff. And they're based in New York. And when I travel there, I'll go, visit them and help. But it's not like a day-to-day thing for me. I don't look for those types of things. If something came across my desk that I'm excited about, I see value in, and I can actually help, like that one did, sure. But again, that's the only one that I've actually ever invested in and done. Will that happen down the road? Maybe. I'm not going to say no to that, but that's not my focus by any means.
Okay. Now, the big question here about your business. Why should people choose what you do over what other people are doing in the SEO market?
The first thing is the cost. If you're looking to hire an SEO agency, it's going to be $3,000 to $5,000 a month. Now, there might be some less, but traditional an SEO agency fee is that. We have plans that range from $500 to $900 a month. So significantly cheaper. The second one is the speed. Like I talked about, that others might do in 6 to 9 months, we could potentially do for you in half that time. The ease of it as well, where you go in, you connect your website, you click a few buttons, you prompt the AI, and it creates all these pages. Now, I'm not trying to say that traditional SEO agencies are bad or you shouldn't work with them. That's actually the total opposite of what I want to say, because we're partnering with a lot of them who are going to use this for their clients and their customers. I think that SEO agencies are fantastic and do great work on-page, on off-page SEO. I think most of them don't do the programmatic side of things. And if you have the budget to hire an SEO agency and then also work with us, you'll see results a lot faster and you'll probably see double the results. If you don't have the budget to hire an SEO agency, we can step in and give you those results that you need and get you to the point where you can also hire an SEO agency.
Okay, that's a pretty compelling reason, or a bunch of really compelling reasons. So I'm going to turn away from your business and talk about maybe the elephant in the room, and that is the broader topic of disabilities. According to some data that I've seen, the employment to population rate for non-disabled people might be 65, 70%. In the community of persons with disabilities, it might be 25%. So only 25% of the disabled population has jobs. And you probably have run across others who have disabilities, and there are some who are incredibly talented. They have incredible gifts, but they're not being utilized. Employers might be afraid to hire them, just like their coaches were afraid to give you a scholarship. Based upon your journey and what you've seen, how can companies better hire and support employees with disabilities and also push them into leadership roles?
The first step is understanding that someone with a disability might be able to do 90% of the job and you interview them, but there's 10% that they can't do well. And because of that, you're missing out on them and you're skipping them. And I think that's the first mistake. I worked at a financial firm out of college, and what I realized pretty early on was 90% of the job I could do really well. 10% of the job, not so much. Placing wires, placing trades in accounts, not the best idea for someone who's legally blind, small numbers like that. And so I realized early on, this part was hard for me. It was challenging. And so I came up with a solution with my team of, well, why don't I take 90% that I can do? I'll take 10% of the people on my team's work that either they can't do or they don't want to do or they're not as good at. That's similar to the 90% that I'm doing. And the 10% that I can't do well, someone else on my team will take. And you can switch around things and you can make creative solutions. And I think when employers are willing to do that, that's when they can allow other individuals to succeed. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a handful of jobs I can't do, but that's the handful. Can't fly a plane, can't drive a car, I can't do things like that. But most things I can do. And so for someone like me, it's how do we create a creative solution to allow me to succeed, or allow someone like me to succeed if they can do 90% of the job, but there's just 10% that they're going to struggle with.
I think that's very innovative. I would tell you, I can't long snap, man. Can't do it. So that's a great idea. But if they have fear, they don't know how to deal with people with disabilities. They worry, how do I talk to the person with disabilities? How are other people going to talk to the person with disabilities? How do you get them to the point where they see that there's value?
The biggest thing is teaching them to ask instead of assume, because we never know what someone does, what they can do, what their background is. We need to ask not only what they need, but how we can help them. We need to ask in all scenarios. And the example I like to give for this is I travel all the time and go to the airport. I go to the counter, I ask for what's called a meet and assist to help me get through security, get to my gate. Every time they tell me to go sit somewhere and I wait, and they come out with someone with a wheelchair getting ready to help take me through. And it's this back and forth. I don't need this wheelchair. I need to show me. I can't see the signs. And it's this back and forth. Oh, get in the chair. It's easier. And I finally get them and convince them to be like, okay, we'll just walk with you. And first off, they'd save time, effort, and energy if they just from the beginning said, absolutely, how can I help you? Or how can I support you? But they'd save this awkward conversation, which for me is fine, but for most people, it's probably not. And it just comes down to that. We don't need to be afraid. Most people have good intentions. Most people mean well. That's what I've learned. And if you just ask, no one's going to take offense. You're putting yourself in a situation where you all can win and you can help someone. But don't just go out and assume what someone needs for help or what they can or can't do.
Okay, that's also profound. I think that's very true. And as you probably know, one of the reasons why this is difficult is employers don't naturally come across people with disabilities unless they're a friend or a family member has a disability. But for the disabled population, how do you provide hope for them that they can achieve their goals?
Showing them that anything is possible. It might be hard. It might be harder than for others. And I would never lie about that. But it's possible. I think you might need to apply to more jobs. You might need to go on more interviews. Is that fair? No. But it's also the reality of life where not everything's going to be easy for everyone. And those challenges, when we learn to persevere, when we learn to say, hey, it's okay, I'll get the next one, and you keep trying, you will eventually find someone who will work with you. You will eventually find someone who will help and support you. You will eventually find a place that you can call home. That's what I was able to do with football. And I promise you that you can do the same if you're willing to keep going.
Okay. My last question on disabilities. If you had a single message to companies, one message about how to foster employment for persons with disabilities, one message, what would it be?
I think it comes down to just giving people a chance because you don't know what they can do. That chance might just be interviewing. Doesn't mean that you have to hire, but that might just mean giving people an interview, because you might find within that interview that some of those candidates can have unique skill sets that your current employees don't have. And it starts there. I'm not saying that you have to go hire someone. I'm never someone who likes the whole thing where companies say, oh, we need to have this percentage of people from this diverse background. No, I don't agree with that. I think you hire the person who's right for the job. But at the end of the day, a lot of the times that person can be someone with a disability, but they're not even getting the chance to interview. And I think that's the biggest step.
Well said, Aaron. Well said. I would say to you, obviously, people have many different views about a percentage of this, a percentage of that. There's people all over the place there. But I think what's true is the population of people with disabilities is getting larger, and those people buy goods and services. And it isn't necessarily bad for a business to say, we employ people with disabilities, when people with disabilities can make consumption choices.
Yep.
And hopefully that will actually resonate with some of the people in the C-suite who are watching today. I do want to ask you a couple of football questions before we close that we didn't ask. And friends of mine who are former Division I football players or former pro football players they probably would say to me if I didn't ask these questions, how did you not ask him this? Okay. So you're a legally blind long snapper. And for the people who don't know about long snapping, you're usually hiking the ball when there's a kick or a punt. And the ball's going to go some distance. There's nobody under center right behind you. You obviously know this, but some people may not know this. And either the punt means the offense has given up the ball and it's going to go a long way, or they're trying to kick a field goal or an extra point. So did teams, once they knew about you, did they try to do different kinds of blitzes or flood the middle to see how you would react, to see if they could block that punt or block that kick? And how did you deal with that?
Not really that I can recall. I don't think that many teams knew that much. It wasn't like we were going to go on field. The coach would, identify to them. I mean, I'm sure some people knew just because of the news, but not that I can recall that people would do things differently. Now, I didn't do punt in games. I only did field goals and extra points in games because we ran a spread style. And so the long snapper would have to run downfield, and my coach didn't want that, obviously, because I'd never find the ball or make the tackle. So I only did field goals and extra points in games. Now, in practice, I would do second team punt, and my coach would tell me, hey, snap the ball and just block. And of course, I would run downfield and I'd try and make the tackle, and I'd have fun with it. But it was my own team, and they wouldn't come and blindside me and knock me out. So that's fine. But I think it was mostly fine because even on field goals and extra points, you're guarding the inside gap. So the guards were guarding the inside gaps. Everyone was guarding their inside gap. So it wasn't really a concern for me.
Never worried you when you were out there?
No.
Okay. A man without fear. Well, look, Aaron, this has been really fun and really great. You're a great guy. You have a lot of great things to say. For those who are watching, when this comes out, if you watch and you have questions, you can email me at carl@blockandtackleshow.com. Just remember the and is A-N-D. It's not an ampersand. And if you have questions for Aaron, you can still send them to me. I'll forward them on to Aaron. I'm sure he will happily answer them. He's a great communicator. And as all of you know, what you see is what you get. And he's a really good guy. So thank you, Aaron. And thanks for being on the Block and Tackle Show.
Thanks for having me, Karl.
Karl Block is both a corporate lawyer and a corporate restructuring partner. Nothing in the podcast should be construed as legal advice.
If you want more info on the show, please visit blockandtackleshow.com. And you can also email me at carl@blockandtackleshow.com. Thanks for tuning in.